Hello there. How are you guys doing?
Good, you, John?
Oh, doing good. Doing good. We're gonna.
Hello, John.
Hey, how are you there?
It snowed like crazy here. We get about 1.5 feet.
Wow. Yeah, we got none here. We've had wind, so I'm good with that.
Well, I have to drive over there tomorrow morning, so I'm kind of a little bit not happy about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I got
No,
my trailer's full of my cabinets and everything, so it's gonna be
oh
a big
man.
load.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's just chilly and windy, and we got some good, much needed rain, so that part was, good to see. So, mountains got some snow. They're pretty, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just wait.
Well, okay.
Let people join there. Yeah, we got a few other, obviously the other board members and to join in, and we'll get going. We got a lot on the agenda there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Well, I'll just mood out and just kind of watch for a
Okay, good.
while.
Yeah, there with the public hearing, they'll explain it. There's going to be, the time for comment and questions with the public hearing and thing. I think they'll kind of explain that once
Yeah.
Alexa calls a meeting to order too.
Will we be able to see who was all online?
I
I
think you
saw
can.
I think you're on there. I saw Ricky a minute ago, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do see Ricky and Ray and Amy and Phil, a couple of anonymous people calling in.
Can you hear me, John?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What a drive through a winter wonderland.
I do not envy you. I've driven enough snow in my life to last the rest of it.
It was fun. Yesterday we went snowshoeing with the dogs. Had a great time.
Yeah, I like to look at it. I like to look at it from afar up on the Henrys. It's pretty that way. Don't like to tromp in it. Yeah,
Like this?
yeah. Good gosh. Yeah. Nope. Been there and done that in Montana and North Dakota. So that was
I've pushed the driveway 3 times tonight.
dang. Good gosh. Well, we just got a few minutes there. Looks like we got about 2 minutes. And I know Alexa and Amy have joined us. So all the board is here. And we're once you guys on the call to order on the stroke of the clock, then we can get going and go from there.
Yeah. Let's do it. Now let's wait until exactly 6 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Well, that sounds good.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, how are you, Ray?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah. Okay.
What are you doing in your office?
Oh, I have more screens here, so, and I feel more confident with the technology here at home. I'm never quite sure how to make things work, so I just figured I'll hang around here until the party is over.
Right.
John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, a minute is long if you're waiting for it. It's my text. Yes, 6 o'clock. Well, let's get this going. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. Let's call this meeting to order and start with a roll call of the board members. Mike, can you make your presence known?
I'm here, Madam Chair.
Good. Amy? And Alexa Wilson, we're all here, as is TUID staff. Adoption of the agenda. Mike found a slight discrepancy between the two agendas that we published, and it's mostly a matter of numbering. Like on one copy, item number 9 was numbered 8A, and then all the following numbers were one lower than on the other copy. So I suggest we just go off the copy that says 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 without the A on it. So if anybody wants to make a motion to adopt the agenda with that clarification.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda with your correction in numbering.
Second that, Amy.
I second the motion.
Okay, everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval of the minutes. I thought they were fine. No comments.
Yeah, I think they're good. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 1/10 of 2024.
I'll second that motion.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, those were the easy ones. Okay, review procedures for handling electronic meeting. We can still do that based on the COVID era law, and it works well for us. So with the exception of an occasional in-person meeting, we'll keep doing it. Okay, so we have, next is the public comment period. We have two somewhat similar periods. One is the usual public comment period in which everybody has 3 minutes. Everybody who wants to speak. After that, we're gonna move into a public hearing to specifically address the fuel surcharge. So if you have a comment that exclusively deals with the fuel surcharge, I would encourage you to make that comment during the public hearing. But we don't have to be too particular about it. So I would like to open it for public comment. Anybody?
Use my hand because I can't find it.
Okay. And anyone else? Well, Tom, you're
would.
it. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do Tom first, Jean after that,
Okay, I'll move.
and then anybody else who changes his mind or joins in the meantime.
I guess,
Tom, the floor is yours.
Alexa, the first question I've got on your agenda, do you still intend on having public comments at the end of the regular meeting also?
If somebody has something specific to say that was not addressed previously based on presentations, I would entertain that.
Okay, then I am
But
going
not a
to,
rehash of all the stuff that has been said in
No,
public
no.
comment and public hearing.
I will hold my comments until that item on the agenda.
Okay. Is everybody on the board okay with that?
Yeah, I'm just confirming that's item 12, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yep.
yes. Okay, Jean, you're next.
Well, I didn't know if I should hold off as well, because I'm not sure if what's being presented tonight in the way of, on the agenda, is the trailer issue going to be discussed?
It's not on the agenda this
Okay, well,
time.
I just want to address a couple of things. You know, I bought the Falls trailer. You know, you negotiate with me to buy it.
I
And
remember that
I was in,
vividly.
and after I got the unit, I think I lost you. After I got the unit, I was informed that TUID had expended $12,000 to do repairs to the unit. And I about died because there wasn't a damn thing done to that unit in any way, anywhere. The roof leaked, their fridge had food in it still. It was open. There were the leaks in the roof had gone down, and there was black mold on the floor. There was all this crap. So the siding was gone. Some of the siding was gone. The skirting was busted up in several spots. There was a great big picnic table full of oil. It took me about 5 trips to haul that oil back because I only take so much of the back of my truck at once to dispose of it. And so I'm a little bit concerned that the TUID spent $12,000. I went back and read the notes. They allotted $20,000 for a repair. They did 12, then Chip or someone decided they were going to stop. But I call bull crap on anything being spent in that unit. And
can I ask a clarification? Are you talking about events that happened in 2022?
Yes, and the reason I'm getting to that is that TUID has no business being in the trailer business. And they demonstrated that already with what happened over there. And so when I know that was part of the discussion last time was to rent or to sell or anything else, that's my 2 cents worth. It's just, I think that it's not in the realm of what they're to do. So, and the unit I bought is, I think, a classic example of why you don't do it. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
Okay.
Ken, did you want to speak?
Yes, he wants to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to give my 3 minutes to Tom so he can finish out what he's got.
Well, Tom decided he wanted to speak afterwards.
What? Can you say that again? What wanted to happen?
Ken says, if I understand him correctly, that he wants to give his 3 minutes to Tom. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, so he's got enough time to put out what he's got.
Okay. Tom, do you want to take advantage of that generous gift right now, or you want to do that afterwards?
I will wait until afterwards.
Okay.
I'll wait till we get through the public hearing and so on.
Okay, good deal. Anyone else? If nobody else wants to make public comments, then we are gonna close the public comment period. So the next item on the agenda is the public hearing about the fuel surcharge to the regular rate schedule. If I can be allowed to set the stage real quick. Our current budget includes fuel for the generators in the amount that we need for our expected power use up to $3 a gallon. That leads us to a balanced budget. That leads us to a balanced daily operating budget that does not give us enough income to pay for major repairs, rebuilds of any generators. That is just the day-to-day stuff. So right now, we're actually still good. The last fuel buy was under $3. So even though we're contemplating a fuel surcharge effective April 1st, most likely there will not be a surcharge in that month. But as far as I can tell, in the long run, diesel prices only have one way to go, and that is up. So when that happens, we will be ready. If fuel is more than $3 a gallon, we need to charge more to balance the budget. Again, just day-to-day operational. It's calculated based on monthly. The surcharge is calculated monthly, and it will be charged to everything on top of the monthly bill based on the kilowatt hours used in that month. Everyone, every customer, every account will get the same charge per kilowatt hour. The height of the charge is based on the fuel price. If it's $4, the extra per kilowatt charge is going to be 14 cents. If it's 50 cents over $3, so $3.50, it will be 7 cents per kilowatt hours. Across the board, charged monthly to everyone. So with that introduction, I would like to move into public hearing, and I believe we need a motion for that. Am I right about that, Mike?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to move into public hearing at 6:11 PM to discuss a diesel fuel surcharge for particular utility improvement district.
I second the motion.
Okay, everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Well, who wants to speak?
I'll be the first one.
Okay, go for it, Tom.
Just a little bit of background, the old board, or the board prior to this one, was doing some investigations regarding fuel surcharges also. I understand your purpose behind it. I also understand you're trying to be fair with everybody. The problem that I have with implementing a fuel surcharge is this board has gone back and forth for the last few board meetings discussing whether or not there's going to be a rate study. I believe that if we're going to change a tariff to institute a fuel surcharge and then go through a rate study and look at the recommendations from the rate study, I'm not convinced that, or I'm not saying that when a rate study is presented to us, we have to follow all the recommendations of the rate study. But I do believe that there are some poignant questions that have been asked about the rate study. There's been some bad blood back and forth over who's paying for what, and if somebody's subsidizing something, and I honestly believe that before implementing an additional rate, that it's necessary for TUID to get its cards on the table and get them in order and go through this whole situation at once. I just do not believe that we should be piecemealing it. And I think if we did a rate study, we knew where we stood with our rates, not only currently, but more importantly, knew where the district would have to go in the future to remain solvent. Then there could be realistic discussion on the current rates, where they need to be, or whether they're okay where they are now, a fuel surcharge, or whether a fuel surcharge is needed if rates are adjusted to accomplish the needs of the district, not only for its annual income and expenses, but to put aside through regular rates a reserve fund, a fund to dip into in the event fuel prices went out the roof. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else?
I guess I can take another shot at it again, as new comment period. Hey, we sat through this last meeting. I don't know if Tom was on there or not. And that rate study was a total waste. The guy admitted it, that we only have two classes. There's the commercial guys and the residential, and that was it. And he said it really wouldn't apply because there weren't enough divisions and everything else. I mean, it was totally explained. And we spent time talking to that guy. So that $15,000 to $20,000 to be spent that they were saying is the number we were going to be spending just wasn't necessary. It didn't make any sense to me, because I think John and everybody can figure out the rate usage, the usage, who's paying what, and come down with the numbers and make it make sense as to where it is. I mean, if they think that the TUID is being letting somebody subsidize it, the commercial users, and they can do numbers. I mean, it isn't a study because there's only two classes. There's the commercial class and us. That's it. So it didn't make sense, and I still don't think it makes sense. I don't understand why this study is so important. I mean, this board can figure this one out on their own. That's it.
Thanks, Jane. Anyone else wants
I
to?
just have something to add. Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering if anybody else wanted
I-
to speak.
Am I on? I've had an audio problem getting
No,
connected.
you're on.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mary.
Yes, I oppose increase, and this also, we were increased just last year on water, and it seems that, we are already having enough expenditures to it. If there's a study already created. And I think that, yes, we see more into the commercial benefit than it should be just the amount, because we're on a small generator. We don't really require that for the minimal amount of people that are in the district. We're not gaining something for commercial use.
Okay. Thank you, Mari. Kent?
Yeah, I got a question. Seems like we've always had enough money to pay the fuel cost. I agree there's probably an increase on what we're paying now. But we've been selling all this property and everything. So where is all this money going if we don't have the funds to pay for the fuel anymore? When we've gained people down here, they're paying for different properties, so we got an increase. So why are we looking for a surcharge, or where is our money going? Does someone have an answer?
I think it's really simple. It goes straight to fuel. It goes to the fuel that was bought to generate the power for the month that you're being billed for.
Yeah, but it hasn't gone up that much. Not enough, like I say, with the properties that they sold, and then the increase in utilities of the new people and everything on all these properties. The question I've got is, where is all this money going if it's not going for fuel? I like to see a statement or somebody give me an answer where all this money's at. Did it go to TUID? Did it go to North Lake? Where did it go?
We will soon get our financial statement for the year 2023, and I think Connie or John be happy to share that with you.
Yeah,
Will
we just
probably
upload.
be presented in open meeting as well.
Yeah, it's also the Utah transparent website too. We just did the quarterly expenses and revenue statement today too. So those are all loaded on there.
Does it have all the income on there?
Yeah, it does per quarter. Yeah.
So that's my question is, with all of what's been sold and with all the new hookups, why are we costing more for utilities?
Kent, do you mean to put that in context? Do you mean what time frame would you put on that? Do you mean from beginning in 23, or what would you for the money?
You're asking for a surcharge on the fuel, My question is where we had the extra money sold of property, which was in 23.
Yeah.
We've had brand new hookups in 23, which carries over into 24. So where is this balanced out, or where is the money sitting from that?
I
Yeah,
think
there's-
you should just
Answer a
wait
question.
for the annual report to go to the transparency website, and if that's not clear, maybe Connie will find a minute in her day to clarify.
Okay.
Sorry, Connie, making work for you.
Alexa, could you send around a link to that transparency website? I'm not sure everybody has.
Vote.com. Right-click the page you want to send to your friend, and then in the menu, click Send Link.
Yes. Yes, transparency.
We could probably put that on the website. Something easy to throw on there.
Is that something that's doable, John, to put the link to the transparency site
Yeah, certainly.
on the
yeah.
website?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, okay. Let's do that. Anyone else? Did you want to speak again?
I just wanted to add, Alexa, and I don't know whether it's come across your desk yet or not, dealing with the Public Utilities Commission, but the PUC, the Utah State Auditor's website, the county, numerous government agencies have been after TUID since its inception to modify and bring its rate schedules in line with the norm with the rest of the industry. There was a time, and there still may be the time, that we may not be able to do that because our costs are so much higher. But that's why I'm stressing that if we get the rate study done, then it will allow us, if the rate study recommends that rates be increased for one class, decreased for another class, based on usage, based on demand, we can do that. At this point in time, the district is mandated to charge the same rate for all services. The only thing we can do is discount for volumes of utilities being purchased. And that's why we have the sliding scale on the rates now. Before Tickaboo Resorts was involved and North Lake Powell, when the folks from overseas bought the mine and the mill and Tickaboo, that was kind of when when TUID was formed. And at that point in time, TUID was trying to get a tariff started and do some rates. And the mining company complained that TUID was going to charge a commercial rate versus a residential rate. And the administrative law judges and the PUC recommended to the Public Service Commission that couldn't be done until a proper rate study was done. So that's my other reason for pushing hard for getting the rate study done. It takes some of the straps off of this board in the future for establishing more equitable rates wherever they may fall. That's it.
Thank you.
I would just like to add on to that just a little bit. I work for a public utility and we operate through rate studies. But it also gives us the ability to forecast and grow the utility into the future with the idea of having the least impact on our consumers as possible. So instead of having to have a knee-jerk reaction for something that's out of our control, we will actually have that forecasted built into our 5-10-year work plan, and it gives us the ability to not have a huge impact on our consumers going forward. And I think that that's a very positive point to a rate study.
I have one more thing to report. We received 3 letters in the context of this of the public hearing from Tom Hill, Jim Bell, and Rodney Hurst. And we'll publish those on the public notice website for everyone to read. Everyone of the management company and the board have read them through the day as they came in. So when we do make a decision, we will do that with all the information that we gathered in the public hearing, as well as what was in those letters. Last call. Anybody wanting to speak? I see little dots with Dan. Oh, Jim. Go ahead. You're mute.
Okay,
Yeah,
can
there
you
you
hear
are.
me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi,
Go
Alexa.
ahead. Hi.
Hey, I don't know, just to make everything fair, whether it's commercial land or residential, RV, whatever. I'm in favor for this surcharge or rate study, I mean, for the rate study. Whatever it turns out to be. And then everybody's hiney is more or less covered down the road if anybody wants to come back on this. I think it'd be a very wise decision to go ahead and have the rate study done.
And I concur with
my wife and
Tom Hill. Well, at least there'll be no discord in the marriage tonight.
He knows what's good for him.
Thank you both for your
But
comments.
no, I really feel that it'd be in the best interest of Tickaboo, for the residents here, in all fairness to the people that live here. We all have an investment here. This is our homes, and this used to be a pretty close-knit community. And for a while now, I feel like it's kind of been splitting the sheets here, unfortunately. A lot of people wanted to retire here, and I've heard many people complaining about how things are turning out, and they're trying to sell their properties and move out, and it's not good. It used to be a really nice place to live, and especially if you're sick of the city, this was the place to be, and it's great for activities, whether you're in the lake or hiking or what, but that seems to have kind of fallen at the side, and people are at each other's throats here, making it very stressful.
No, thank you, Terry. Dan Larchins keeps threatening to come online. I see his little dotty things going on, but anyone else?
Alexa, I'd like to throw in another comment here. I don't understand how these people now are wanting this rate study when they weren't there when the guy explained what it was for, what he could do, and what he couldn't do. I mean, this is not a magical thing that he was doing, and he explained it in detail. I wish these people that would have been there at that meeting last week or last month when he presented it and explained what it does and doesn't do. And he made it very clear to us with only these limited amount of one class or the 2 classes, one outside the residential, it doesn't make any sense to do the study. I mean, I just said it before, and I want to keep repeating it, but I find it kind of offensive that all of a sudden we think this is a big important thing by a few people now when they didn't have the opportunity to listen to what the study would do and not do. So,
well, the good news is that everybody still has a chance to listen to what, I can't remember his name.
Craig. Yeah, it's recorded.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
getting
that Craig
recorded,
had to say,
so.
say about that on TUID TV, our very own
That's-
YouTube channel.
We encourage everybody that has made these comments tonight to take the opportunity to do that because it was very informative. I learned a lot, and I've been in a lot of these kind of board meetings. And lastly, to just go back on what she said, there's some of us, and I'm one of them. I've got 10 lots down there now, and I've been down there a lot every weekend and talking to everybody. People still love the place. I don't know if she's running around with negative people or what. The people I talk to enjoy it. They see the beauty. They want to expand it, share it with their families, sell it to friends. So I think there's a little contradiction there. It's a beautiful place and we love it, and it's going to grow because of how peaceful and great it is. It hasn't changed.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Alexa,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to
Yeah,
say
Ray, please.
thank you. So I just want to make it clear from the management side of TUID, and I think John and Connie will most certainly agree, and I think Tim Kelly's on the call too, and I think he would certainly agree. Everybody here, and I think you too, Alexa, we're all for a rate study. We're all for it. We all think it's a great idea. I don't know the last time we've had one, but we should have one. But our jobs as managers is to report to the board, the priorities. And right now, I think that we're missing an extreme priority. We have a problem. I don't think anybody understands that problem. And that problem is what's going on up there with the generators. And, I'm in the office quite often with John, and, he explains it, and he can sit here and explain it to everybody to make it a little bit more clear. But I think that any revenues and any excess monies that the district has should go to a rebuild of at least one. They really need two, but at least one, the one that doesn't sound so good. I think that if we ignore that and we are misdirecting money to other things, we're making mistakes that could come back to haunt us all. So although we're all in extreme agreement, and Mike Morling has done a great job of delving into all the necessary information that we need, and as Gene just had said, I think everybody should go online and listen to what the fella reported last month. But when you only have X amount of money, where are you going to spend it? And I'm pretty certain that nobody wants to have a busted up generator, but that's one priority. And there's a couple other, and you know what they are. And to answer Mr. Hines' question, I mean, a lot of that money that we brought in has gone back to reimburse the reserve fund. I mean, it was way below. We got dinged for that on the audit. So, I mean, it's very transparent. You can see where the money goes, but we need to focus on where the money is going to go in the future, and to spend money on things that are not priority right now could be catastrophic. And that's all.
Thank you, Ray. Anyone else? Well, then if nobody objects, I think we
And
need
my
a
little
motion.
yellow hand raised.
Oh, sorry, Margaret.
I just want to say that in a rare occasion, I'm completely in agreement with Ray. I do think we all agree that a rate study is very important. And I think even if we had to move ahead with a fuel surcharge in the meantime and have a rate study done at a later date where we could adjust things, I really feel like the generators are a super priority. And and the prospect of spending, you know, $10,000 or $20,000 on something that's not essential to our survival is kind of mind-boggling. And I would love to hear from Ray what he thinks the other priorities are after that we need to be addressing.
Uh, can I speak?
Of course.
The second priority, Margaret, would be the well pump. John, is it one or two that needs the attention?
I got it mixed up. I'm gonna call it number one, the one down by the post office boxes. I know that it's been brought up in the past, but when I was spoken with Kat, you know, and again, right or wrong, they said one of the reasons TUID went to solar on the wells was to help, you know, ease the stress on the generators. I'm not sure how true that is. I can see that because they do, you know, draw power, but yeah, number one's not working. So it'd be nice to, you know, as we talk about fuel and money, um, to have number one back on solar. It runs off the diesel grid and it's on and off. Um, and I don't know, you know, what you're looking at as far as total demand and use, but the fact that the solar field and the equipment sitting there not being used, you know, then we need to get that back online. It'd be nice to have both of the wells on solar. And we've reached out to ECI, which is the, you know, people in Price who installed that. And as a matter of fact, I did as recently as yesterday to follow up and to say, you know, when can you guys come look at this and see? So that would be one, you know, a priority as well.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Mike, you want to do the motion to go back into regular meeting?
Sure, I will make a motion that we enter back into the regular meeting at 7:37 p.m.
6:37.
6, sorry, thinking ahead.
I second the motion.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, well, that was a quick number 7. Thank you all. Board reports and business, item number 8. I have 2 things to report. Is everybody okay if I just do that? One good, one not so good. We have had discussions with folks at the Division of Water Rights about our water right application to replace the rights that were lost in 2022 or even a 1, not quite sure. Anyway, it looks that this application is going to be denied, which leaves us with 100 acre-feet, which is plenty, but that right is going to expire in 2032. So sometime between now and 2032, we have to come up with water rights. One option is to apply for individual water rights for each residence. Apparently, it's an open basin. You can apply for half an acre-foot for every residence. Unfortunately, each application comes with a $150 fee. So if you multiply that by how many residents are there, 70, 80, then that adds up to be real money. But that is one avenue that we can pursue. It does not do anything for a hotel, so I don't know what to do about that. And I guess we're gonna have more discussions with Jones and the Mill, who were at least partly responsible for the final loss of the right. On the more positive side, we have an appointment tomorrow with people from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Usually people refer to them as NREL. It is a federal agency under the Department of Energy, and unless somebody thinks this is a recent Biden left-wing thing, it was sponsored by lefties like Gerald Ford and both of the Bushes, and it's been going since 1975. They run a program they call lovingly, I understand, C2C, which stands for Clean Energy to Communities. And we have applied. It was a very easy online application, and I'm a sucker for quick online applications. It's called an expert match. And what they do is for a period of 2 or 3 months, they match you with an expert to figure out certain questions, the questions that we have mentioned in the application. It's the power sector and a knowledge application. And the goal is to move to clean energy sources and reduce generation costs. And they have a very interesting question that made me think of focus the application. They say, what would success from this program look like? And the answer that I came up with was a system design and budget for a project that moves Stickaboo towards renewable resources and lowering the cost for current and future customers. The reason, and I snuck in the rate study in my description as well. The reason I applied for this is that I started to feel a little uncomfortable with proposals from people who simultaneously wanted to sell us something, and this seems to be an opportunity to get advice from people that, one, know what they're talking about, two, don't have, they get their regular salary. They don't need us to make them money. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to talk to them and see if that goes somewhere. John and I have made the appointment, but any of the other board members, or Ray, if you feel like joining in, you'd sure be welcome to.
Thank you.
And that were my adventures in TUID land last month. Any, Mike, Amy, anything to report?
Nothing new here.
I don't have anything.
You know, I skipped one. No, it's not on the agenda. Our fuel surcharge is not on the agenda, other than in the form of a public hearing. Was that intentional, John, or did we just, is that an oopsie?
Alexa,
We redone the agenda so many times.
I think, Alexa, I think you wanted to have the discussion tonight, and then I think you were going to advance it to March. Maybe is that right? That you were going to advance it to March for?
I think we have to make a decision at least 30 days before. I can't remember that. We'll have to look at our cheat sheet with our Public Service Commission. If not, we may have to call a special meeting for that in the meantime.
Yeah, I assumed you guys were going to vote on the resolution during the public hearing, was my assumption from looking over the Public Service Commission cheat sheet, if that makes sense. That's the part that says discussion
but
and relevant approvals and resolutions that go on number 6 there. So I thought you guys had just decided not
the
to.
call entertain public hearing for the discussion and relevant approvals and resolutions.
Yeah.
Huh, Mike, you're the expert on procedure.
Not on public hearings, Madam Chair.
What's that?
I said not on public hearings, Madam Chair.
No, I mean, does number 6 include give us the opportunity to vote on the issue and make a decision?
I am not 100% confident in saying.
What I'm going from is like our public hearing for the budget, for example. During that
Mhm.
public hearing, we have comments and then do vote on it, yay or
Mm.
nay. So my assumption that the vote was going to be taken by you guys in the public hearing, but I'm also assuming you can always go back in the public hearing if you need to.
Yeah, but I don't think a vote is not happening during a public hearing. It happens after. And somehow,
That's what I was
It-
thinking as well. It was a separate line item.
yeah,
Point of clarification, if I can help.
yeah, that'd be great.
Based on my knowledge, Alexis, you're right. You can't have a vote in a public hearing. You need to come out of the public hearing, reconvene the meeting, and then I didn't even realize there wasn't an item on the agenda when I looked
Yeah.
at it, but there should be an item on the agenda
Yeah.
to pass the to vote on the resolution.
Yeah.
So I think
Well-
you're kind of stymied there a bit.
I suggest that we just reconvene next week sometime with one agenda item, special meeting.
Good to
And
me.
we'll sort out the details then, just to make sure that we got all our i's dotted and t's crossed. We've worked so hard to go down the checklist. Don't want to screw that up for this little technicality.
We will be experts by the time it's over.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, sorry, I just I derailed the whole meeting by my Amy, Mike, do you have anything to report?
I do not.
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, then we're gonna go over to item number 9. So, if I can do a quick setup again, if you allow me, everyone. The issue in general is that North Lake Powell Tikaboo Resort was under the impression that they were not paying garbage fees, solid waste fees, and because of that, they were hauling their own trash starting in 2016 when the original agreement was made to this day. The original agreement in 2016 is very clear and very well documented. Later, there was added rental and employee housing that got charged fees for a little while, and then it was taken off again. And then at some point in 2019, there were fees reinstated. And as far as I can tell, without Tikaboo Resort knowing anything about it, for all the rental and employee housing and the hotel. And then all the while they kept doing their own work. That added up to a lot of charges that are now in dispute. I propose that we do 2 things. Now we stop charging them from January 2024, just because in actual fact, They have been taking care of their own garbage. That's just what happened. And that in the meantime, and then after that, we will work with North Lake Powell to solve the disputed charges. Mike, what do you think?
Madam Chair, after reading the original email dated June 10th, 2016, the first paragraph states that we're in receipt of your email to TUID dated June 9, 2016, regarding commercial solid waste services at your locations known as the boat shop, lodge, base camp, and Moki's. Please accept this letter, our response to that email and official notice of cancellation of solid waste services at the aforementioned locations. I guess in my mind, it was the original agreement was for those 4 locations. I believe there's multiple accounts. And from what I can see from 2016 in the billing that John provided, that billing represents those 4 locations. That, like you said, there is some discrepancy later on between 19 and 21 where no billing took place. I think there was actually 29 months where no billing took place on any account. And then in 21, billing started on all accounts, but the lodge should have been 19 residential units charged at $228 a month, but it just went back to charging at the flat $12. So I think out in the end, there's a lot of confusion, and unfortunately, there's a lot of documents missing, meeting minutes, emails for that time period. But I think the original agreement was pretty clear that it was just for the 4 locations and the accounts associated with those locations. So that's just kind of what I found, Madam Chair.
And I agree with that, that the original agreement was only for the 4 original commercial locations. But I'm also thinking that given the fact that the resort has taken care of the trash at their rental housing, at their employee housing, by placing dumpsters in handy locations, by actually picking it up, by organizing housekeeping to go by their rentals, by doing all these things, they were at least under the impression that they weren't paying any garbage fees.
Sure.
So there is definitely some room for discussion, and I believe that to bring this to a close, it's going to be really important to find any documentation there is, like invoices, like indication that the amount invoiced match the billing matches amounts actually received or paid. There's a whole bunch of research that still needs to be done.
Sure. Yeah, I don't understand, like you said, it's really confusing, and there definitely was a lack of communication. And then to pay the invoice with trash services on the invoice for over 5 years. There was definitely a lack of communication somewhere.
Yeah, so that is why my proposal at this time is that we can maybe agree, since in actual fact TUID was not taking care of any of the resort trash, that we can at least stop charging them starting in January 24, and that we leave the big question, the painful question, for a later resolution and to also give us some time without making things worse as we go along.
My only question to that is if we stop collection for one consumer, what impact is that going to have on our other consumers? One, are we going to offer that to all consumers? Two, how do we plan to replace that revenue? You know, I'm a commercial or a resident recreational homeowner. So I pay trash service 12 months of the year and probably use 2 months of it, knowing that those fees that I pay provide a service in a very difficult location that, you know, that we all enjoy. Just some questions that are coming to mind right now with the idea to stop service on all trash collection, and maybe we ought to really think about what impacts that's going to have on the district as a whole.
So let me get this straight. You think that North Lake Powell should keep paying for trash removal when it's not being done, hasn't been done for the past 5 years? Is that correct, Mike?
Ms. Gold, I'm just purely going by the documentation that we have, and it's one email from 2016 and the meeting minutes from 2006. That's all we really have on this deal. Everything else is just what people have said and miscommunications here and there. I don't really understand the whole deal, and I think Alexa's got a great point. We should try to gather more information.
So TUID has the resources to remove all of the resort's trash then, if we're going to pay for it?
I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't.
So if you're going to keep charging North Lake Powell for garbage removal, TUID has the resources to take care of it. I don't think they do. I think that's why this came about in 2016, because TUID could not afford the trash trailers.
Well, I think it was kind of stated as a beneficial agreement for both, you know, to save the resort money and to save us or save TUID at the time from having to buy more trash containers.
So North Lake Powell, you were saying that they should be charged for a service that they are not receiving. If that was any other person in this community, they would be having a fit.
Although there are our famous standby customers that pay $200 something per month and get nothing. So, do we have any idea how much money we're talking about? $12 per month on how many houses?
When it went up to $19 a month.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think we're talking around $27,000.
Yeah, that is going back. I'm just talking about going forward. 19 times, how many houses are there? Like 20?
I did reach out to the board members that were seated at the time and, you know, just quizzed on what they remembered. And one board member that was on in 2016, the others have since they're gone, remembers the deal as commercial. He's actually on here, Mr. Hill. He might be able to give us some insight as to the 2016 decision.
Yeah, I don't think the 2016 decision is in dispute. I think where the gray area is in the in what happens to the rental housing and the employee housing.
If you allow me, Madam Chair, I might be able to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I don't think at this point it's appropriate for for you to, but if you can, I think you already emailed Mike about your memory, and I think if you have anything to add to that, please do so.
Alexa,
Mm-hmm.
may I say something?
Absolutely.
So Mike's right that resolution that was passed on 2016 and the minutes preceding it, I think it's important to remember that TUID was having trouble funding the purchase of new dump trailers. And Dave Curtis, the owner, offered to buy the dump trailers and take care of our own trash for our commercial properties, which included at that time the lodge, base camp, Moki's, and the boat shop. And it was about a year later when we acquired the properties from the mines, and we already had a few houses, but we were already taking care of those ourselves. And I was there then. I was here back in 16. And then in 17, when we purchased all that, we had to go through, I think you may have been aware of that. We had to go through and rezone everything through the county. And it became all commercial property, not residential property. It became commercial property. So naturally, one would lead to believe that if we're taking care of our commercial properties, then we would be taking care of all of our homes and everything that's off of those standard 4 properties that were the main properties, the main commercial businesses in 2016. To me, that's just deductive reasoning. I don't see how that can be confused. What is interesting about that is that at no time did TUID purchase any dump trailers to haul the trash off for those people, or even to say, hey guys, you don't need to be doing that anymore, you're paying for it. So as you said, we've paid for it all these years. Now, as Amy brought up, the total amount is high. It's 27,000. But I hope everybody here understands it's 27,000 to you. To us, it's over 50,000, because not only are we out the 27,000 that we pay TUID, but we're out all that labor to take care of our own trash. So to us, it's more catastrophic than it is to TUID. And then speaking with the owners, and we understand the situation that TUID is in financially. And I think that the terms that we came out with are extremely generous. We're not even asking for any of the cash. We're asking for something that doesn't even really cost TUID any money. So I think when you look at it all together, I think that it's pretty clear that that we did it. We carried our own garbage. Our housekeepers pulled the garbage out, put it in the vans. Our maintenance guys did it. I think I saw Ricky Brinkerhoff on here. I had even asked him in the past, did Chip or anybody, Chip Shortreed at all, ask you to stop when you worked for TUID? Because he was with TUID up until November of 2020. Did he ask you to start collecting our garbage? And you saw the response, no, he never said that one time. And then he came to work for us in November 2020. And I asked him, well, who was collecting the garbage since then? And it's always been Ricky. Ricky's always collected our garbage. So, I mean, to me, the evidence is pretty clear that the charges were sustained and they weren't supposed to be for any of our commercial properties. And I think that the resolution or the offer is very generous, and that's just my opinion on all that.
So I got a question, Mr. Golden.
Yes, sir.
Just so when you said you rezoned for commercial properties, at the point where you assumed that would entail all of the trailers, did you ever go back and ask if any other than 4 of the original agreement were to be added because they became commercial? Did you go to TUID and ask about that?
We didn't, Mr. Morlang, because we weren't being charged for it, and they weren't charging us for any of those homes during that period. So it was naturally assumed that those were our responsibility.
They weren't charging you from any homes between 2016 and 2021?
I believe that there was a period where they started charging it without our knowledge. And when we received the bills, nobody, and those bills come across my desk. Those bills used to come across Connie's desk, and it was never shown as a solid waste removal fee. And you know, to tell you the truth, Mr. Morlang, I can tell you how I found this. In the report that I'm about to give on the next agenda item, I was putting together the utilities that it's cost at base camp, And I asked Connie if she would pull me how much money we've spent in the utilities for the TUID office. And as soon as she sent them to me, I said, "What's this? This isn't the bill. I've never seen one of these before." And she said, "Well, that's what it looks like when you get an audit, when you audit it." And then that's where those fees were on there on a form that we never get to see unless we perform an audit. So it wasn't on the regular bills. We had no idea that we were being charged anything.
And, you know,
Ray?
Mr. Golden, don't
Yes,
get me
ma'am.
wrong, I'm not contesting anything that
Yes, ma'am.
you're saying. I'm just saying what the agreement states represents what happened in the billing that Connie provided. And, you know, we're down to, we've got an agreement here and then we've got the minutes. And so now we're going based on hearsay of what actually happened. None of us were, you know, a lot of us were down there in 2016. And like I say, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying is right, but I think we need to do our diligence and really go back and make sure that everything is correct. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of public money that we're talking about, and we need to make sure we do our.
Actually, Mr. Morlang, it's not public money, it's our money. We paid TUID for services that we were performing ourselves. How do you find that to be public money?
Well, there was an agreement to do that. You know, I could go start doing work for anybody, Mr. Goldman, send them a bill. Are they going to pay me for it unless they hired me? No.
Hey, I think
I'd be happy to
we
settle it in front of an arbitrator if you are.
we started the discussion with the board and TUID management, and it kind of devolved into a discussion with North Lake Powell. So I think since the lines were blurred that much, I would suggest to give Tom Hill a chance to speak as well, if my fellow board members agree.
I concur.
I'll defer to
Amy?
your judgment.
Okay, Tom?
I have the agreement that went out in 2016. I was on the board with that, and I don't have any exception to that at all. The discussion was TUID was, as Ray said, was in need of the old trash trailers that TUID had were failing, and in order to continue to provide receptacles for the commercial properties in Tickaboo, TUID was going to have to spend a fair amount of money to do that. At that point in time, I believe Chip went and had a discussion with Dave Curtis, and the agreement was made, as Mike has said, to if Tickaboo Resorts would haul their own commercial trash, we would stop charging for that. I think where things get muddy, and there was never a discussion out of residential trash. Where things get muddy is as the years went on, Tickaboo Resorts came back to the district and said, "Hey, we've got another situation that we believe is costing us an awful lot of money. And it has to do with our rental homes and our employee housing that we're paying individual electric, water, sewer, and trash rates on. Can we combine on the electric side so many units a month to add them into our commercial minimum fee that we pay?" I don't know the number. John can probably find it, but an agreement was made to do that on the electric side. I have a feeling that because of, as maybe John will tell you, the archaicness of the billing system, that when the electric bills were pulled off and added to the master bill for Tickaboo Resorts, that probably the trash and maybe even the water fell off also. And I think when it was caught, the trash was added back on. As far as I remember, the board never agreed for trash abatement on residential trash in Tickaboo. As a feeling, as Mike stated, was who's going to regulate whether I take my trash to my, whether I haul it off the property with me, whether I put it in the town dumpster, or however it gets done. There was never an agreement to haul separately haul trash from the residential or the live dwelling units within the town of Tickaboo. I'm sorry. So I would support 100% correcting the error on the commercial end. It shouldn't have been done. But then I would go back and say, in fairness, if the argument is that there's no documents that can be found on the residential end or on the housing end of it, then instead of going back and saying, okay, there was a year or a year and a half where they didn't get charged for the housing end of it, just drop that and continue paying for the housing end of it. But make everything else, I would like to see the numbers and see if the two numbers wash out. If we went back and properly charged for residential trash, as everybody in town or all the residential people are paying for in town, we went back and properly charged for that, what that number would be. And then we go back and calculate the overpayment for the commercial end and figure out what that number would be, compare the two, see how close of a wash it is, and then come up with a solution that would hopefully work for both parties.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Miss Wilson, we're going down a rabbit hole. If we're gonna continue charging North Lake Powell for solid waste removal, then TUID has to pick that up, and our staff, our labor has to stop doing that, and then we have to recalculate our whole contract with TUID, because that was never considered part of the negotiations. If we were going to have to do the work of collecting the garbage for everything, then we would have obviously charged more on the management fee to cover all that labor that would be expended.
I had hoped that we could agree at least to not charge going forward, but I'm not sure if we, and I'm talking about we, the board now, can agree on that. Do I understand you correctly, Mike, that you say that you would not support that action?
I would not support that action at this time. After some discussion and, look at the impacts, see what it's going to do to our entire base, then we can have that discussion. Like I said, in fairness, we would probably need to start offering that to everyone. And then, what's that going to do to TUID as a utility as a whole in the end? It's kind of like I said before, everybody pays their standby fees and their trash fees and different things for the good of the community, understanding that's what it costs to live in Tickaboo.
Do you mean to say, Mr. Morlang, that if we offer that to everybody, all the residents, then they're going to be required to run their trash down to the landfill?
Mr. Golden, after threats of arbitration, I have nothing more to say to you.
Ms. Wilson, is that what Mr. Morlang's implying, that if we do have to start offering that to everybody, then that just means that everybody has to take their own solid waste removal down to the landfill? I mean, it's free to the
That does
residents.
seem to be what he's saying.
Well,
Well, it sounds like we're not. I mean, I don't. Maybe we should just marinate this for a little while and revisit in a future meeting.
So if we're not going to charge North Lake Powell, then TUID is going to be taking their commercial garbage down to the landfill. Is that correct? Is that how we're going to move forward with this? Just to be clear.
Think that well, I don't know. Because that, of course, becomes an interesting question. If they're paying to get
So
to
the
get
lodge will
their
start taking their refuse.
garbage hauled, then I don't know. My brain doesn't work enough at this point to think through all the implications.
I mean, we're willing to renegotiate the contract to add that labor back into, I mean, it's sixes, but either we're gonna collect our own garbage and not pay for it, or we're gonna collect it for TUID and be paid for it. So it doesn't, it's really, which route do we take? I mean, right now, if you're saying to us that we should be continuing on the route that we're on, then my feeling is, well, gosh, we're I'm paying. I mean, they literally spend 4 hours right now in the wintertime, every Monday and Friday, 8 hours, 3 guys. They're, I mean, do the math. We're coming out of some labor there to take care of the garbage that we're not getting paid for TUID, or we're not getting paid for.
Well, let's just table it for now. I'm suggesting. And just think about the consequences of continuing to charge.
Yeah, it'll have to
Because
be
I
paid back.
have to admit that I have not thought that through.
And may I say too, Mr. Morling, I'm not threatening to go to an arbitrator. I'm just merely suggesting that, you know, if we can't come to agreement, an arbitrator would be happy to listen to both sides and make a judgment for us. And I mean, that's how things get settled. It's not a vile threat or being angry. I'm just saying, why don't we take it to a party who's not got any interest in it and let them make the decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's just unfortunate lack of communication from the beginning, and it is what it is. We, you know, going by the documentation we have.
Yeah, but I would give great weight to the fact that in actual fact, on the ground, as executed by actual people that we know, TUID has not been taking care of the trash in employee housing and in their rental housing. I mean, that has to have some weight. Whether you can dig up documentation is another to that is another question, but there, and I believe, I'm skating on thin ice here to have any thoughts about what was in Chip's mind, but I believe from all I've heard that there was an understanding between the resort and Chip that the resort was going to take care of the trash at the employee housing, to the point where Chip goes on rants about how somebody dumped something in the wrong trailer. So
Well,
there is what you can document, and there's the facts on the ground, and somehow those two have to be made to match.
Mr. Shortreed must have had a really humorous time for 5 years watching us collect our own trash and paying for it too. I mean, I'd be sitting back laughing at that.
Yeah. Okay. Can we agree? And I'm talking we here in Amy. And I guess you still have to, Ray kind of has to chime in there as a resort, that we just leave everything as is for another month and kind of marinate and talk and document and make Connie work. And thank you, Connie. I know that you have done like more work than could possibly reasonably be asked from you on this.
Ms. Wilson, I don't have a problem waiting for another 30 days, but I have to be honest with you. I think John and Connie have stretched their ability to find anything.
Yeah,
We've
Yeah.
had discussions about it, and they're like, there's nothing there. There's just
Yeah.
nothing. It's poor record keeping.
yeah. Yeah, and I think maybe what Ricky has to say on the subject should be explicitly made part of the file, because that is a very important part of the conversation.
I believe he's on the call if you want to ask him.
I think we have email documentation of that too, don't we, Ray?
Yeah,
Yes.
North Lake Powell does.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I don't think that there's much point in going through non-existent minutes for very much longer, but and maybe we can flesh out our story a little bit and make it more linear, and see if and also think, and I have to admit that I had not thought about it, but what would happen to what the consequences would be to keep charging the resort, and what that would mean for the contract, and I have just never thought of that. So I personally need some time to go home and have a drink and then come back the next day.
Yeah, you know, I think
So
there are consequences the other way as well, Alexa, and I think we need to really weigh that out as well. So,
yeah, yeah. So can we all agree to do that? I'm not making anybody drink. I mean, but that's what I'm going to do when I go home.
sure.
Yeah, Amy, can you live with that?
I can live with it.
Okay. Well, let's do that then and move on to the next subject. Ray, that's you.
Yes.
That's kind of segues kind of nicely.
So I've got this ready to email to you guys. So I did a TUID cost analysis, and the reason is, today we've got 7 weeks left until our annual anniversary. It'll be the first year. I think we started on April 1st, and we really only have one more meeting prior to that anniversary date. So this is what my job is. We constantly analyze costs, expenses, and investment to make sure that we're profitable. We can't be in business if we're not. And so I put together a TUID cost analysis to show you and the board and the public what value you're getting off of the management contract, which, as everyone is aware, is a $100,000 annual contract. So I can either just read it to you. I can share the screen if I think I know how, or I can just email you, the board members, this document so that you have it and you can read it more thoroughly, because I'm not going to read it word for word because I'll just take up all your time.
But why don't you share your screen and then
I'll just go through it.
and then email it so we can fill in the blanks
Okay.
in our spare time.
So I'm afraid I don't know how. When I hit share screen, Alexa, I get a box that says select a window or application. I don't have my document. Oh, wait, I have it. I got it.
Mm.
And then share. Okay. So this is a PDF file, and I'll read it along with you, but I will shorten a lot of the information. So TUID right now has a very nice office, and John and Connie have done a tremendous job of putting that together. And we've not been charging any rent to TUID for that. It's just been to date, since May 1st, when they took it over, has just been a benefit of our goodwill. When I met with Dave and Bob and Amy about taking the contract, we knew that there would be a little bit of burden on our end And it was our effort to do that so that we could help the district and help the community and try to get things up and running. So let's start with the rent. The previous board had approved and supported a rent payment to the former manager of $1,100 a month for office space in his home. And I measured that space out. It was 106 square feet, which represents $124 a square foot. The square footage in base camp is 179 feet, we'll say. And using the same rate, and we're not even talking about inflation or anything of that nature. We're just talking about the same rate that was extended to the previous manager that the board approved and supported. Creates a monthly rent fee of $1,850, which, as you can see, is that figure says $22,000, but it's actually $22,200 annually in office space that we've just provided for TUID, the district. Utilities, well, I mean, take a guess. We're paying the utilities for that TUID office space, which is kind of odd. But the previous board also supported and approved to pay the utilities to the former manager for his living quarters and office space. So I had Connie dig that up for me, and she did it from May 1st through January 31st. And the average cost came out to $245 a month, which equates to almost $3,000 in annual fees that North Lake Powell is paying so that TUID can have an office. And it's a nice office. It's right on where people can find it. And I think if anybody went down there, they would agree that John and Connie have done a great job. Storage fees. We talked about this at the beginning of last year, that a lot of the equipment and vehicles that TUID had was just sitting up at the Gin Farm and just rotting under the sun. So we pulled everything down and put them in our storage units. And those storage units usually go for $100 a month. And we're using 5 storage units to secure all of the vehicles. And that, and like the front loader and stuff like that, the truck, everything, all of the Kubota, everything that was a piece of equipment that could be damaged in the sun, we've put in storage. So if you do the math on that, $100 a month for 5 units comes out to $6,000 a year. Equipment, John and Connie, the office that we created for them, it did not have any heat or air, so it was impossible. I mean, you can ask them right now. They'll tell you that the summer in there was overwhelmingly impossible to be in there. So North Lake Powell paid for the air conditioner unit to be put in. Now, you might say like, well, you're supposed to do that if you build the place out. Yeah, but we're not getting paid rent, and we did it. We wouldn't have done it otherwise. So that unit and everything came to $1,890. Now, the district did pay for the electrician to hook it all up, so that's obviously not included here. And then lastly is labor. So prior to the contract, our management team planned for John Motley to become the Director of Energy Resources and spending 75% of his time managing TUID and the other 25 managing offshore and the development down at the Tapestry on the Burr Trail. Connie was actually hired as our HR director for North Lake Powell. She was not hired to be a member of the district. Dana DeMambro was promoted to the chief engineer to oversee the generator functions of TUID. And as John will tell you, that he's vital. I wake up in the morning to take my dogs out at 5 or 5:30, and Dana's already up there on that hill checking the generators out. He checks them every morning. He checks them every evening. And then he does all of the service on him and John together take care of a lot of that stuff. Dana's a very vital member of our operation for the district. Our maintenance staff is responsible for all the water samples, which we have to carry to Price. Maintenance of the TUID properties and equipment, the grounds, and the landscaping. Now, North Lake Powell knew and understood, and this was big discussions that we had prior to the contract, that the first year or two would be a challenge, attempted to sort everything out and lay new SOPs for unsuspecting occurrences, things that we just didn't know. And many functions were outsourced at steep rates, were consolidated within our staff capabilities, reducing the cost to TUID, but extending labor costs to NLP. Now, some of these examples include vehicle repairs and equipment. Anything that goes down, Dana fixes. Anything that, I mean, and the district used to have to carry that stuff off. And so those travel fees and higher labor fees were really eaten at the district. So instead of taking these items to automobile mechanics, our staff made them on site. And I brought up to you guys about the civil engineer that wanted to charge $11,000 to produce the drinking water source plan. But John called up there and he said, what do I got to do? And they told him he's a water operator. He's got all the certifications necessary. So TUID has paid Larson in the past, Larson Accounting, to provide much needed accounting work. And that's when we started transitioning Connie over to the district. And I can't believe that we didn't think about that earlier, because that has been a real difficult part, trying to catch up with the audits and all the financials and everything that we've had to do. Now, granted, once Connie gets the feel for it and she's into it, it'll be a lot less stressful and easier for her, because it'll become a routine instead of a learn as you go. So North Lake Powell has had to transition other staff members to cover operations with Offshore's power plant and admin functions with Tapestry Development due to Mr. Motley dedicating over 40 hours a week at TUID, which has pulled him away from the functions at North Lake Powell. And this too comes at a great cost of labor. John and Connie both have been permitted over the past month. I mean, we've talked about it and it's very necessary right now, but they've worked outside of the scope of their descriptions by being available on demand to sort out and bring into compliance many issues that were unknown. The proper protocol is for board members to discuss with me, the general manager, what is needed, and then I can delegate those assignments based on protocol and priorities. And this allows me to properly manage labor cost. It would be akin to the previous board going straight to the TUID employees and skirting over the previous manager. But the hands-on on-site general manager has a difficult time managing the expenses without the contacts, without outside contacts managing the operations. But we all understand and we're in agreement that we're enduring some challenging times, and direct communication is necessary until we fix what is broken. So there has been no need to implement a stricter guideline, and I'm not advocating that. The labor figures need to be shown, however, so that North Lake Powell can show the full value of its role as management. Now, we use Maintenance X, and all of our guys in maintenance, they all use it, and we track the hours. And the total labor cost at North Lake Powell, this reflects 10 months of the first year of the TUID contract, is $136,500. That's how much will be spent on labor. So let's go to the total. Presently, the total cost of TUID is $100,000 for the management fee, and presently the value being received for that is almost $170,000. So there's additional expenses to that, and that we can't track. It's impossible to track. So I'll just briefly go down that. The district used to pay the previous general manager's internet and cell phone, which we obviously don't charge for that. John drives his own vehicle, bought specifically for TUID, and he pays for his own supplies and parts. To date, he's spent over $2,000 on tires, oil lines, and plugs, but the previous GM would expense that to TUID. We don't do that. TUID paid for all the previous GM's utilities, including propane, and NLP pays of all of that for our operations now. North Lake Powell also picks up parts and supplies for TUID on its own when we do our supply trips, so that saves TUID travel fees, fuel, wear and tear. NLP carries all the water samples to price along with offshore's water samples, and we don't charge the district anything for the labor, transport, fuel, or wear and tear for that. North Lake Powell provides a discount on lodging for TUID vendors that need to stay overnight for work. Cat being an example, when the Caterpillar guys come down here for multiple days, we give them discounts. North Lake Powell also uses company tools, equipments, and supplies on hand to perform the TUID work when TUID doesn't have the tools, thus saving TUID money from having to buy additional tools and equipment. Basically, we have everything, all the equipment that you could possibly need. So we're saving the TUID the money from having to go out and buy that stuff by using our equipment. So North Lake Powell has saved TUID thousands just from 23, but in the next year's expenses get caught up and the new budget is applied. The combined savings of 2 years, being 23 and 24, compared to 21 and 22, are going to be phenomenal, especially in the areas of unnecessary cost, such as legal consultation, travel and entertainment, and other items that we've just completely eliminated. And then that concludes the TUID analysis, but I would like to just say one more thing, Ms. Wilson, regarding the community value that North Lake Powell brings to the table. And it's just two items. One is our partnership with Garfield County. In 2022, one of our employees was approached at his home by the Glen Canyon law enforcement because dispatch had received a 911 call from Tickaboo and the officers could not locate the street. So we contacted the county and asked for street signs, which they provided. We purchased the cement, we purchased the sign poles, and we provided all the labor to put up those signs. The county has the remaining signs in production, and we're going to handle putting all those signs up too. So the total cost in labor is $2,042. Now, the importance of this is if somebody has a medical emergency or for whatever reason, they have to dial 911, the law enforcement can now find their home without running around the neighborhood and trying to locate it. And then the Tickaboo Volunteer Fire Department. So attracting and retaining volunteers for the fire department has not been an easy chore. However, we presently have 10 members, all of which are North Lake Powell staff. Due to the difficulty in having them come to training after work around dinner time every month, we have moved the training sessions to early in the day and while staff is on the clock for NLP. So if all volunteers, all 10 turn out, which about 90% of the time they do, that's about $270 to $300 per hour, and training can last 1 to 2 hours. So the average cost to North Lake Powell is about $427 a month or $5,130 a year. So the total value to the Tickaboo community on just those two items, $7,172. That concludes that part of it, and I'll take any questions that you have. But I think it's important that you digest this, and I'll email it to you as well, so that if you do want to talk about some stuff coming up, you know, with the solid waste removal, and you feel that it's going to be important to renegotiate the contract so that TUID is actually handling the cost or whatever, there's a lot of room here that a lot of topics that we can talk about. But I'll leave that to you to digest over the next month or so. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. And also, I don't know how to stop. Oh, I see. Stop share. There you go.
Well, thanks for that, Ray. Mike, Amy, do you want to respond to that at this time?
I don't.
Is Mike still with us? I don't see him.
Yeah, no, thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, there you are. Hiding. It's a lot of information, and thanks for pulling that all together for us. I think you can spend your life nitpicking all those numbers, but I think the general gist of it is clear that we are not being shortchanged on the contract. And that's an understatement. I think that Ray's presentation makes that clear, and only just thank him for putting it together and giving us something to think about. Mike, Amy, do you have anything to add? John, maybe?
Yeah, I've got some updates for you guys if you want to hear
No,
those.
can you hold on just a second so we formally finish this item
Certainly, yeah.
by confirming that Mike and Amy have nothing further to add?
No, thank
Okay.
you, Alexa.
Okay, John, please.
Okay.
You can give us a quick management update.
Yeah, and I've got a document I'll send the board. I'm not going to go through it on the screen tonight. I don't want to bore anybody, but it's detailed. But I want to talk a little bit more about fuel since it was discussed tonight in the surcharge. I think there's some good questions. And again, I'll mention anytime anybody wants to come by the office, like, Kent, just let me know. because I'm in and out, but I'd be glad to show you stuff. I, don't mind sharing that, and it's transparent, and all the documents, the legalese say this is on, for inspection at the office, and it really is. So I'll be glad to show you that, those items for expenses and balances and items like too. That wouldn't be a problem at all. But speaking of fuel, yeah, it's tough to talk about a surcharge because of the expense of living here now. But one of the things that we do, to try to be proactive is, buy fuel when it's cheaper. And recently it has been under $3 a gallon. So we made extra purchases, and we have about 18 feet on hand at the tank farm, which is about 14,000 gallons. So if you do it enough, you can do the math in your head and understand fuel really well, becomes second nature, believe it or not. We'll try to buy some again. It usually starts going up in about May. The issue with that, and this ties back into Kent's question, what about the money? Unfortunately, we have to keep money in reserve for the bonds that we owe, and they amount to $56,000 a year for electrical bonds, sewer, and water bonds. So we have to keep that, and part of our 80,000 reserve is already spent, and then you got to keep a little bit beyond that. So that leaves, really not much of anything. But the conflict with trying to buy more fuel in April before it goes up in May is two of those bonds are due in April at the same time. So it really puts us in a cash crunch to do things like that, to let people know how that works. So we try to look and balance that out. But it is good to buy it cheaper. Last year, we actually we bought 10 more thousand gallons of fuel and spent about $500 more. So price does affect fuel, obviously, per gallon. And even though we bought more fuel last year, some of it was at the end of the year for this year too. So we consumed about the same amount as we did the previous year too. So we do track that and keep up with it. The other thing we do too, and Alexa brought it up with the meeting tomorrow, is it's a mistake to think that diesel is the future. So we do look to alternative energy projects. Like Alexa said, it's got to be somebody willing, to have skin in the game, not ask you to pay for something as an experiment. And we have, people we talk to about that. Some of the people bringing those up involves a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement. But we'll listen to anybody who says they're the ones willing to make the investment for the infrastructure that's required, for a microgrid, and most of them are hybrid, which is going to be PV solar and battery, and then generators become a backup. They still are part of the equation. They're just not, your main power producer. So it does save on fuel costs there, obviously, too. And again, somebody reached out today, oddly enough, and mentioned they had a deal with TUID in the past, and it had failed from a financer, but they found financing now. So I plan to follow up with them tomorrow too. Just general updates, keeping things going. I'll update you guys on that and the generators, and what we're doing to those, obviously. And keeping them, make sure everything's going how it should as far as that goes. Again, board, I'll catch up with you more on the accounting, as we mentioned about saving money. That's something that's important that we look at, that we get what we pay for on the accounting end of things. So that's something I'll get you guys recommendations on there too. But that's really it for me. Just again, never a dull moment. And again, anybody that has questions, feel free to reach out. We'll be, like I said, via email, stop by in person, and I'll be glad to share. The information's, not secret. It's not, not a lever of power. It's public information, and it's easy to be transparent about it, and show you what we do and don't have, and can and can't do. And yeah, and the going back quickly, just personal opinion on the rate study. It's a love-hate with me too. When you hear Craig talk, it's exciting to hear what he says a rate study can do, because it's very broad. And I would love to see one day, but then I go back to money and that being a factor too. We always have to plan ahead because a rate study is 120 days, some odd to do, as well too. So there's a lead time in that. I would love to have the money now to do one, but it does come down to me, more about money and then being cautious on generators, being a public utility and what we have there too. So it's like anything, it's weighing and trying to make things, fit in to the money that we do have, basically is what it comes down to. But that's it for my updates. And I'll get the board the written update that I have with you guys, a little more detail on it as well.
Okay, thank you, John. Amy, Mike, you have any questions for John?
No, thank you. Look for-
Well, thank you, John, and
Thank you,
I
John.
appreciate that that your first priority is to keep the lights on.
Yep, you got it.
That's, if you do one thing, that's the one thing we want you to do. So thank you for that. Okay, I get to go to page 2 of my, we're back to the public comments. Tom, anyone else?
I'm here. I'm trying to get back on. Hang on a second.
Yeah, okay, I thought we
Okay,
lost you.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'll try to limit what I've got to say. Because I know it's getting late. But there's a few points that I want to make. During the trash discussion, Ray asked Mike if TUID it was going to pick up the trash from all of North Lake Powell's residential properties in town. TUID doesn't pick up my trash, nor does it pick up the trash of the other people in town that rent their homes out. Okay, they're responsible for getting the trash to the dumpsters themselves. So again, my argument is the arrangement with TUID and Tickaboo Resorts was to vacate the agreement or to vacate the fact that TUID was picking up trash from the commercial end. There was never an agreement to pick up the local trash. Okay, if TUID was going from door to door and picking up trash in town, we set it at the curb like people do at their houses in the city, and TUID picked it up. That's fine. But I don't know how a person can say, because we take the trash from our rental homes and from our homes and haul it to the dump, well, that's your choice. The town dumpsters are there for that. That's my argument on that. Secondly, I appreciate Ray's expense report and everything he gave to you, but it seems to me, and I may be wrong, that a lot of the items that Ray mentioned as overages in his report that he promised would be taken care of under the management contract. And I think if you go back and listen to minutes and proposals, it'll be there. The third item that I have is that we sold a lot of property last year. You saw it in my letter. I believe that there's no reason that we should have gotten rid of all that property. I believe that property should have been held for emergency purposes to sell as the district needed. I realize that we bought a new generator, and yes, if they came out of reserves, that's exactly where it belongs to come from. But I also believe that a lot of that money that was realized from selling properties was used to pay operating expenses. And I don't see anything in this year's budget to reimburse or to add to reserves. So I question that. I also question, I mean, I listened tonight and you saw it, and I'm sure it's going to be very controversial. think that the conflict of interest between Ray and Amy Golden, as Amy working for North Lake Powell and working for Ray, and it was readily apparent tonight with the argument with the trash deal. Amy is there to speak on behalf of TUID. And I know it's a fine line. But to approach expenses and complain about that and so on, she's representing North Lake Powell. She's not representing the district. And therefore, I believe she doesn't belong on that board anymore. I think she should be replaced. And I also think, to end some of this controversy, that the board should immediately go to a 5-person board and open it up for nominations. The way that works for the county, the TUID board is responsible for deciding whether it wants to be a 3, a 5, or how many members on the board. Once the TUID board passes a resolution to expand the board, then they go to the county and advise the county what they are doing. And the county makes the appointments. But it's up to the board to decide that. I've got a lot more, but I'm sure I've already used my 3 minutes up. I sent the report to the homeowners. I sent my comments to you. Digest them, do with what you want with them. But I really think that that things need to be changed, lines need to be drawn. And I'm not saying we're not getting our value from North Lake Powell. I have had dealings with the principals of North Lake Powell. And sure, they've been some tough arguments, but they have been, and we've had to agree to disagree. But with the background that's gone on, I'm sorry, with the Goldens being there and pushing people's buttons, it's just got to stop. And until that's realized, I don't think this district's going to get anywhere besides going completely flat. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Mari?
Wow, I'm really impressed right now. I have to say, maybe I've not been enough educated. I'm thrilled with what Tom just said. I appreciate what the board does. I appreciate what North Lake Powell is contributing. I am a very conservative person. I am concerned about the fees. I have tried to participate in meetings, and I want to have great communication. I think that's key here. Proper knowledge, and so that, you know, we are able to educate ourselves. So as these letters will come to us, so we can do this. But this is what some of the best meetings that I've participated in over several years, where I feel like maybe the board listens to comments, and hopefully right now I see a great amount of public input coming on with participation. So I just want to say thank you. And, you know, I think we need to consider that, because I've said before, I'm willing to take my trash down to the dump. And I think we have to look at that. And, you know, employees getting their trash to those dumpsters. But the hotel, there was like $16,000 to get dumpsters that TUID was going to charge them in 2016. So the resort was saving themselves money by taking their own trash with their own bins. But I know there's a great expense there, but I mean, I think that we need to open the line of communication and watch that for everybody. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mari. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to jump back in again one more time. You know, I really am observing this, and again, I think I'm pretty well vested in this group as much as anybody is here, except for North Shore. And I'm really kind of offended the way that Tom went after Amy, and I think that's crap. I think that we finally have a board on there that isn't a good old boy club and doing some things. There's some things that went on in the last boards that still ought to be investigated and still ought to be looked at. And I'm concerned with Tom directly having any input in regards to conflicts. I feel that what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've seen happen, that guy was full of conflicts, and it's not appropriate to go after Amy. That's my 2 cents worth.
Appreciate that, Jane. Sure, Amy does too. Anyone else?
Alexa,
Okay, Jim.
I'm sorry.
Jim.
I just want to say that I completely concur with everything that Tom has said, including removing Amy from the board. Back years ago, we had to do the same thing with Dave Curtis because of the same reason. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Jim. Margaret?
In a totally different line, when you mentioned that about the water, I personally would be very happy to pay the fee to apply for, individual water rights. And I think it's probably a very good possibility that other people would too. So if we need to go that route, I'd like to find out what we have to do that.
Okay, well, we'll keep working on it. Thanks, Margaret. Anyone else? I don't think there's anyone left.
Alexa, I'd like to say one thing.
Okay.
Thank you. It's just to kind of answer Mr. Hill's allegation. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Hill. The TUID doesn't go around and collect everybody's garbage. However, it looks like we've got 17 people, 17 participants. So show of hands, how many have seen our dumpsters completely full? So now TUID or North Lake Powell uses 5 trash dumpsters to empty our trash on every day, every single day that the landfill is open. So now what do we do? So remember, the district only has 2 dumpsters. One is down at the mailboxes and the other is to swap it out so that you don't take 2 dumpsters down to the landfill. And then if people need to take their trash somewhere, there's nowhere to take it. They just have to hold on until it gets back. So yeah, TUID doesn't have to go around to all the houses. All of our properties can just start using the TUID dumpsters, but that's going to be 1, 2, maybe even 3 different dump trailers per day. So you don't have that many. It's a lot of trash. Tim Kelly's on here, John's on here. They'll tell you how much we have to haul. So you're going to have to increase that labor anyway, Tom. There's no way around it. You can't. If we were to throw every bit of our commercial garbage into that town dump down there, it would be full in no time flat. It'd be full very quickly. And then on the expense report that you had mentioned that I had said items included before the contract. Yeah, I did discuss those things, and there's no denying that. And I did that because we had already discussed that we were going to try to help TUID get back on their feet, and we were going to do those things. I'm not asking the district to pay for that right now. That might be a discussion we have in the very near future or later on down the road. But the entire cost analysis report was to show you what you're getting a bang for the buck. And it has nothing to do with us coming back and saying, hey, now we're going to charge you rent or whatever. It's just to say, if you want to talk about that in the very near future, this is what you're getting from North Lake Powell. And that was, I mean, I think it's very generous what we're giving and against what we're taking. Amy, she was appointed. She's not an elected official. Neither is Alexa. Neither is Mike. They are appointed by the county commissioners. There was I think 5 or 6 or 7 resumes in front of the commissioners, and they chose Amy's because she has the background and the understanding. The only stipulations for being on the board is 2 things. One is you have to be a property owner, and 2, you have to be a property manager. So by definition, every one of you on the board right now is in conflict of interest. Alexa, you're in a conflict of interest. Mike is in a conflict of interest. Tom, you were in a conflict of interest when you were on the board. So was Jim. Every single person that serves that board is by definition got a conflict of interest. However, the special districts are given an opportunity to alleviate that conflict of interest by choosing the person that they think is best suited to handle that situation. And all three commissioners unanimously chose Amy. So to ask her to step off so that somebody else can step on with the conflict of interest is kind of rude, I think, and it's also just not possible. So I think Amy's doing a tremendous job, and I think that that she's been there. She's been down in the office. She goes down there and talks to John and Connie quite often, and I think you'll hear from John and Connie that she's very respected in our business, and that she makes decisions based on business. She doesn't make decisions based on personal feelings towards either North Lake Powell or the district. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you, Alexa.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you, Ray. Okay, well, that's it for public comments. Confirm the next meeting date. I have March 13th at noon for the next regular meeting, and we'll still have to figure out if the decision on the fuel surcharge can wait until then, or if we have to come up with a special meeting before that. But if that happens, then we'll notice it on the public notice website. In time. So I think it's 8:01. I think this may be the longest meeting we ever had. So I'd be very happy to accept a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Adjourn straight to bed.
Second.
Okay, everybody in favor say
Aye.
aye. Aye. Well, thank you all. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate board members, management team, and everybody who contributed to that meeting, even if only by listening in. So have a good night and see you next time.
Bye, Alexa.
Right.
You,
Yeah, bye.
Alexa, for your great moderation.
Have a good
Bye.